Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 96 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then hey, it's episode 96. There's so many of them for you now to listen to, but I'm really glad you landed on this one. And if you're a long-time listener or a return listener, then thank you so much for coming back and hearing this episode. You will not regret it. I'm super excited to bring this one to you. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and just about everywhere else I hang out to make your business life simpler. I'm a thought leader when it comes to marketing here in Australia and a marketing strategist for small businesses, because I know that business can be lonely and hard and complicated, and look, it's rarely easy, but it definitely should be simple or a little bit simpler. So that's my commitment to you on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. This episode is sponsored by my new sponsor, Spend With Us, www.spendwithus.com.au, an online marketplace for rural and regional businesses. So it's like Amazon, but for rural and regional businesses here in Australia, where your dollars are being spent supporting 600 plus rural and regional businesses. If you're thinking about gift cards for Christmas, then think about site-wide Spend With Us gift cards, where your recipient can then go and choose from 600 different stores to spend their money at. But of course, today on the podcast, I have one of my amazing connections coming to talk to you about selling. Yep, selling. Now, don't switch off because Julia's advice here today is going to change your life. Yep, I kid you not. If you listen and you take action like she suggests, then you, my dear friend, will start to see the world a little bit differently through a sales lens. My guest is Julia Ewert, and she's a sales conversional specialist. She has a patented, I'm glad I got that word out rightly. I'm glad I got that word out right. I didn't get the next bit out right. Julia has an 8-step sales system, and she clearly uses it in her business, because I know on this podcast we don't actually talk about figures or numbers, but I can tell you that I know Julia's numbers, and they are unbelievable as a sales strategist. She's so knows her stuff, and I'm super impressed she's agreed to come on and chat to all of us. So if you go and grab yourself a coffee or a tea or whatever you need to do, and listen up for the next 30 minutes, because it's going to be so worth it. This has to be one of my favorite podcast episodes for sure. Perhaps because, like you, selling is a practice that I need some practice in. So without any further ado, let's have a listen to Julia and her magic sales selling system. Julia, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today, because we are talking about sales. Now, I know a lot of small business owners really do struggle when it comes to sales. So I'm super excited to have you on, and very thankful.
Thanks, Jen. This has been a long time coming that we're here, so it's nice that we can finally chat.
Yeah, it most certainly is. Now, I guess one of the reasons why it's been a bit of a struggle is there's a bit of a time difference between you and I at the moment, although it's not overseas, but it's certainly sort of Eastern versus Western.
Yeah, so I'm here in Perth. And with daylight savings now, it's a 3-hour time difference to my Eastern states friends. So, I often had people that would call me at something like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning when they're driving on the way to work at this time of the year, which is the equivalent of almost midnight my time. It's completely unacceptable.
Completely. Now, Julia, I know you and I love you, but for the audience who are listening that perhaps don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Thanks, Jen. So yes, so as Jen's mentioned, my name is Julia Ewert, and I am a sales conversion specialist. So the best way for me to explain this is, so I'm not a marketer, but every business spends money on marketing, right? And the purpose of marketing is to get brand awareness and ideally bring you in leads, right? And my job is to help people convert those leads into becoming paying customers. So if there's no leads, I can't help you. So my work starts when the lead exists. So I teach people an 8-step sales process. Because essentially I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world who have spent millions and millions of dollars researching and implementing sales processes. And I got some of the world's best practice, Jen, into an 8-step sales process that I'm picking up and putting into smaller businesses who don't have millions of dollars for this stuff.
Yeah, that's just amazing. And like you say, it's sort of making that conversion. Once you've got the lead, it's making the conversion. I know I see it a lot on social media and, through my 6-week mastermind courses, and that we do talk about, you've got to sell, you've got to sell. You just can't be just marketing, although marketing is everything. So it is part of that sales system. But I know that, you talk about it so beautifully and you're so passionate about it. I think it almost rivals my passion for marketing. But what do you love so much about sales?
What I probably really love, Jen, is that sales, and you would have heard me say before, we were talking about it just earlier, that for a lot of businesses, sales is like, it makes them feel a bit icky and a bit horrible and sometimes a bit dirty. And is it an enigma? Can you really moderate and control the sales process? It's just a dark art, right? So I love it. What I love most about it is when I can teach people how to do it in a way. And as I explained before to you when we were just chatting, a great result for me is when I can show people this 8-step sales process, and they almost look at it and they have their response of, "Is that it?" That's all I need to do? Because sales for a lot of businesses is quite complicated and a bit scary, and it makes them feel a bit gross. So I figure if you can take a concept that people don't like and you can make it really simple to do and actually really enjoyable, and bonus, it makes them money, then it changes everything in business. Because if you can learn to sell, it's the biggest needle mover in business, but just no one tells you that it's important. No one teaches you how to do it.
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't got sales, you haven't got a business at the end of the day. So you definitely need those. Where's the ickiness come from? Why do we feel icky about sales?
Yeah, a couple of reasons, Jen. Firstly, because a lot of us remember what sales was like when it was 1980. And if we don't remember what it was like when it was 1980, it's because people still think it's 1980. So people are using very, very outdated ways to think that it's the right way to talk to a customer. And the other thing is, I think another reason why people don't feel great about sales is they have to talk about themselves. And by nature, a lot of people don't like to do that. And what I hear often is, "Oh, Julia, I'm really great at talking to customers and I'm really great at building rapport, but I just don't know how to get into that. Now we're talking about the business space. And I get weird when I have to do that," is what they tell me.
Yeah.
So we just don't know how to transition that conversation. So I take all that weirdness out of it. And I'm not weird about sales. Also, no one else should be weird about sales, because if you can do it right, you can make a lot of money and your business is scalable.
Yeah, I do notice, and I am probably slightly cruel to salespeople because I like to analyze them as, they're trying to sell me something. And you do notice the pitch, the change in the pitch of the voice when they go from conversational to the pitch or to the sales
Yeah.
process. You can, the body language changes in their voice changes. And I have a little tiny internal giggle. It's like, here we go. I can see it. I saw it change.
Yeah, and you're dead right, Jen, but done well, there should be no change. It should feel, and if you can sell successfully, and the way I teach people to sell is it should be conversational. And I use this system, I use a sales process that's built on supercharging the trust that you've got with your potential clients. Because the best way to sell is when people don't feel like they're being sold to, because no one likes that. Everyone hates that. People hate it when they're on the receiving end, but they also hate it if they have to do it. So no one is enjoying that interaction. So the best way to do it is when it's just a nice, calm, relaxed conversation with structure. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, we talk about marketing as well. Like the best marketing doesn't look like marketing. Like when someone doesn't feel like they're being marketed to, when someone doesn't feel like they're being sold to, then you know that you have the knack for doing what you do. So, Julia, can you enlighten us just a little bit on this podcast? I know we don't have hours to, talk about sales, but what's the first step if someone does feel icky, if someone really is having trouble selling? And let's put some parameters around it on social. Lots of people are on social media to be social, and as they should be, but we still need to ask for the sale. What's one of the steps that they can take to help get over that?
Yeah, so I'll go back one step, but I'll answer this when I fast forward again, though. So
yeah, sure.
The idea, Jen, is that when you're selling, it's based on, and one of the differences I talk about between marketing and sales. So marketing is what I call a proposition of one to many, one message to many people, ideally your target audience, right? Or many target audiences. Sales is one to one.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do with marketing is have one message to go out to a lot of people. So a social media message in this example, and ideally bring leads in. And that's when you have a one-to-one conversation. So if you in business want sales to work for you, you need to completely keep running with your marketing. Marketing doesn't change. In fact, marketing might even ramp up. But you need to know that what will convert sales is the one-to-one interpersonal interaction. So on social media, what that looks like, I don't know, it's labor intensive, but the payoff is there, because I always ask people all the time, so I see you're on LinkedIn a lot. So how much business did you get off LinkedIn? And it's not unusual for someone to say, no one gets business off LinkedIn. And I say, I get loads of business off LinkedIn. And then I say to someone, oh, yeah, I see you've got a huge Instagram following. How much business do you get, or how much money does that make you? No one makes money from Instagram. Yes, they do. You just got to put people through a sales process that doesn't feel weird. So the first thing, and there's many steps behind the points, Jen, but you need to interact with people. So on LinkedIn, it's as simple as if someone invites you to connect, or you invite someone to connect, write them a message. Don't just hit the button. And if you have a social media following, when someone follows you, write them a message.
Yeah, beautiful.
Engage with them, because what makes sales, we know it's not sales according to Julia, it's sales according to the world's best practice. What we know makes sales is interacting with people one-on-one.
Yeah, you're singing my song here. I know that lots of people who listen to the podcast a lot will know, that it is all about that, human to human marketing, that conversational marketing. It's, sending those DMs through Instagram when someone new follows and things like that. But I know before, when we were chatting, you were talking about 3 principles, and one of the principles in particular, was really quite obvious as to where we fall down. But could we chat a little bit about what those 3 principles are?
Yeah, so you asked me earlier about what, the 8 steps are, and I said I have this 8-step sales process, but it's based on 3 principles. And the 3 principles are qualifying, to make sure we're in front of the right people, because sometimes we don't need to be in front of more people, we just need to be in front of the right people. Second principle it's based on is converting, which is what do you say when you're in front of somebody? What do you say when someone says to you, oh, I'm not paying $3,000 for that, that's outrageous. Or I just want to think about it for a while. Or I need to talk to my spouse or my business partner. What do you say? Not a lot of people know what to say, and that's what we call objection handling. Mm-hmm. And that's the second principle. And the third principle is where most of the money is for every business is in follow-up. Yeah. Because we all love to send out a proposal and we do a little happy dance. Yay, Jen wanted a proposal from me. That's awesome. So we give ourselves a little high five. And then what happens is Jen is now in email land. So we know, and again, the research tells us email does not make sales. what makes sales. So we're not, no one's in B2B or B2C. We're all in H2H, right? Human to human. So, so it's about picking up the phone and having a conversation with whoever it is about the proposal. But what's really interesting about follow-up, Jen, is that everyone is really great at making that first phone call, which is, hi, Jen, it's Julia here. How's it going? Yes, great. That's nice. Hey, I know I sent you that proposal last week. How are you going with that? Oh, well, Julia, we haven't looked at it yet. Or we just, things have been busy. We just haven't really had a chance to look at it. And then I'll say something like, well, that's okay, no worries. Do you have any more questions? Or if you do, you know where to find me. And you go, yes, we absolutely know. Thanks very much. Then we have this awkward hang up. And then a few weeks pass and I still haven't heard from you. And I want to call you, but I don't know what to do. So the research tells us, which is a really fascinating stat, is that 80% of new business takes between 5 and 12 value-added follow-up phone calls. So 80% of new business, which is most of the new business we haven't even realised yet, right? It takes a minimum of 5 value-added phone calls. And the one where I say, hi, Jen, it's Julia. Did you get my proposal? Do you have any questions? That doesn't count.
Yeah, look, and I love that, and I love also just the fact that you're saying phone calls. It's kind of like we think of social media, as this be all and end all, and even email marketing. And for me, they're all great things to do, but there's nothing like picking up the phone, doing the old fashioned, hey, I'm a human on the other end of a phone. It's almost a forgotten art in some ways.
Well, that's the thing, right? None of us have phones that ring. We only have phones that text, right?
Yes.
No one's phone makes a call anymore. So I do say to a lot of people, do you know that your phone is also there for making phone calls? And it has a function that you can actually dial a number and it rings.
For those who obviously are only listening to the podcast, Julia just did the dial with her pen.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old-fashioned dial. You can actually dial somebody.
Yeah, because I'm 100, right?
Yeah.
Yes, your phone can, and I say to people all the time, pick up the phone and make a phone call. But then people say, what do you reckon they say? What do I say?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say when I ring somebody. So when you can follow up correctly, I teach people how to do that in a way that's really easy. And also you want to do it, because the reason people don't make phone calls is we're scared of it and we don't know what to say. So if you can take those two things away and make people, give them some tools where it makes it easy for them, they'll actually want to do it. And what you'll find is that's where, there's a phrase that the fortune is in the follow-up.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Yeah, for sure. And I know that there are several examples that I could possibly give as well, where just dealing with the objections over the phone, or really just getting to the root of why they're not making the decision. What really is the challenge that is behind the lack of decisions? Because sometimes it's not even something you've even considered from them. So yeah, it's very interesting, but I absolutely love that. So qualifying people as well.
Yeah.
How do you go about qualifying people to make sure that they are the people, on LinkedIn that you should be connecting with?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So if you're looking to connect with, so there's 2 parts to qualifying. And if you're looking at the social media side of it, let's talk about LinkedIn because you brought that up. But it's just making sure that you don't connect with everybody. So ideally on LinkedIn, you should only be connected to people on LinkedIn who are your target audience, or who would be referral partners or people that you can learn and grow from. So ideally, that's who you should be connected to on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And what I found as well is that a couple of years ago, I did a bit of a course on LinkedIn because I was getting no business of it, because I just connected with everybody. That's what you do, right? You just collect, and I used to call collecting connections, right? You just click the button. And so I would find as well that I was getting no business. And then I did a bit of reading, and I came across a methodology that suggested that you should only be connected to people on LinkedIn who are your target customer, or who are your referral partners, or people who you want to learn and grow from. So you've got the right audience, because otherwise it's the equivalent of me standing on the busiest street in Melbourne, for example, and screaming out, I teach people how to do sales processes. And then I don't know if they're 4-year-olds walking past, right? They don't care for my shouting out messages. So the rationale was you're then posting to people who your content is not relevant for. So it's about making sure that you are talking to people where your message is going to resonate with. So the first thing is about connecting with the right people. And then, as I said before, sending a connection message. Don't just hit the button. But then if you're going to be talking to people and actually having a proper conversation over the phone, qualifying is about finding out what there is in common to speak about. What could you possibly help them with? So I have a phrase I use often, which is if you're not talking to people and you're not meeting people, you are not doing business. So one of the ways I measure myself in my business is every week I need to get in front of 4 people, 4 prospective customers per week in, week out. And irrespective of how much revenue I'm doing, what makes me most nervous is nothing to do with the revenue. If I can't get to my 4 people, or if I look at, so today is, what day is it today? Friday. If I get to a Friday and I haven't got 4 people in my calendar for next week, or I've got 3 in, or if I've got none in, I'm having some sleepless nights, because if you can do that, then the rest takes care of itself. So it's about moving people off social media into conversations.
So when you're talking about the 4 people, you are actually picking up the phone to these 4 people or having coffee with these 4 people because you're in Western Australia and you're allowed to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so these are Zoom calls. I have 4 Zoom calls a week.
Yep. Okay.
So even people in my own state, I just Zoom now because it's way more efficient. Yeah. So super efficient. I can do 4 Zoom calls a day, not that I have 4 on one day, rather than maybe 2 coffees. Yep. So so I do Zoom calls, and my number. So I have a window in front of me with my KPIs on it for the quarter, and I have 40 meetings this quarter. So I want to have 40 prospecting meetings this quarter. And I take out the school holiday times or the times that I'm taking off or I'm not working, because I'm only part-time in my business. And I think by the end of the quarter, if I can have 40 meetings, I know the revenue will take care of itself.
Yeah, beautiful. I love those metrics, and I love that they are front and center in front of you. Every time you sit down at your desk, you can see, I don't know, like, next step might be having 40 pieces of paper, and you take off one of those pieces of paper every time, so you know how many you've got left. But absolutely, if you can do that, then like you say, the revenue will take care of itself, because you are confident that you know that you can sell your system, and you are the perfect proof of that pudding, because no doubt you use your own system that you teach other people as well.
Yes, absolutely I do. So I know it works. I have clients that tell me it works. I see the results and it works for me. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
So do you think that anyone who's listening, perhaps that hasn't had that strategy on LinkedIn, for instance, that you were talking about with connecting, do you think they need to have a clean out, or is it just draw a line in the sand and start today?
Yeah, good question, Jen, because I thought I could beat the system. So even when I heard this rationale of this is who should be in your connection list, I still thought, oh, geez, well, it's taken me several years to build up these however many thousands of people I had there. I can't delete all them. And I thought I could still beat the system, and months went by. I'm still getting no business off LinkedIn. I thought I got to, because, we never can make change until there is greater pain by not changing, right? So I got to a point where I thought, well, I can't beat the system because I've been trying. I have nothing to lose now. So I went back to, I think, something like 112 connections. So I was brutal. Completely brutal. And it's still funny now. It's because occasionally now I still cross, and I built it back up over the last, I reckon, 18 months. But I still have people that cross paths occasionally and say, oh, Julie, I thought we were connected on LinkedIn. And my brain goes, yeah, that's because I booted you off, but you probably should be back in now, right? So I just say, oh, I don't know what happened. Who knows, right? But yeah, I would have been brutal. But yes, the second I cleaned it up, and I cleaned it up over about a week. So I chipped away and said, right, let's just get rid of maybe a couple of hundred a day. And it was easy enough to do, and I was brutal with it.
Wow.
And you can't be too scientific with it. If they're not your target customer or an existing customer or a referral partner or someone that you want to learn and grow from, don't have them in there. So your competitors should not be your connection, because they're not going to buy from you. Get rid of them. Get rid of your competitors. If you're a marketer, do not be connected to 500 other marketers. That is not helpful. And then people say, but I like to watch what the other people are doing. Well, do it. Just don't connect to them. Just stalk their profile. You can still learn from others, or do it respectfully and buy some of their lower priced content. So there's still ways you can learn from competitors, no question.
Yeah.
But the second I cleaned up my profile, overnight, I noticed that LinkedIn became a fascinating place for me. My news feed was now full of people and full of information that was interesting to me, people posting about problems that I can now solve. So it made it a place that I wanted to hang out on.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, like who would have thought? Who would have thought, hey?
Who would have thought you can get business from LinkedIn, right?
That the algorithm would start showing you good stuff if you got rid of all the old stuff. Like,
who would have thought, right?
Oh, very good. Very good. Juliet, this has been absolutely fascinating. I know that you know it's fascinating. And just to hear someone talk so beautifully and passionately about sales is a breath of fresh air to start with. Yeah, and so I can't thank you enough for sharing all your beautiful knowledge today with us around sales. I'm sure that there are a lot of small business owners listening to this that are perhaps squirming in their chairs, but also feeling like, you know, they can go out and do this of what you've been talking about as around sales. Do you have any final wisdom, anything that we haven't sort of covered already that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I think when I start working with people, with one of the first topics I cover with them, I do a lot of work on changing people's relationship with sales, shifting them from a lot of the places where they feel a bit icky doing it, or they don't feel right, or they feel weird talking about sales, and people ask me, do I have to change my personality? No, you do not have to change your personality. No. So if you change your personality, that's weird. Why would you do that? So don't do that. But one of the things I do say to people is that it is absolutely about being able to do sales in a way that works for you. So you don't have to make a huge overhaul, but it doesn't have to be weird or icky, and done right, it's none of those things. It's actually really enjoyable. And what you find is if you can do it well, you have such great conversations with potential clients. And it makes it motivating to talk to people that are your potential clients, as opposed to awkward and a bit uncomfortable. So just have normal conversations with people. And if, you know, putting a sales process in place is about doing it deliberately and saying things in a structured way to help them buy from you. But the starting place is just start talking to people normally. Don't feel like you have to be a salesperson. Because for me, I am a salesperson, but I'm also still me. I sell the exact same way I talk to my husband, the same way I talk to my friends, probably not the way I talk to my kids, but I probably shout at them. But yeah, I would never shout at a customer, would I? No, I wouldn't. But yeah, so just be normal when you're talking and engaging with people, and it becomes a lot easier to interact that way.
Yeah, beautiful. And like you say, H to H, we are all in H to H for sure, human to human. Julia, thank you so much. If you've said something and someone wants to get in contact with you to talk sales or to learn more about what you do, where's the best place other than LinkedIn to get in contact with you?
Thanks, Jen. So yes, I am on LinkedIn. You'll find me. I'm Julia Ewert, the negotiator, and I'll spell my surname if that's okay, because it's a bit odd. It's Ewert, Julia Ewert. My website is juliaewert.com, and I work with businesses all over Australia. Do a lot of stuff virtual these days. So happy to have conversations with anybody. So I appreciate you having me along, Jen. Thank you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And all of those links, of course, will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to now go and clean out my own LinkedIn.
Thanks, Jen.
How good was that? Do you feel just like a wee bit inspired now to go and look at your market or look at your connections or look at your leads just a little bit differently? I really hope so, because that was kind of my goal for you listening to this podcast. My favorite part when she was talking was about the follow-up, because this is something I talk extensively about to my one-to-one coaching clients, the follow-up. It truly is something that not enough business owners or marketers do to get the sale across the line. Like, I talk so much in my business about how busy everybody is. Everyone is so busy. We live in such a crowded marketplace, such a noisy marketplace. And yet when it comes to sales, we kind of just have this illusion that they'll come back to us. We've given them the proposal or we've done the follow-up phone call, and now they'll just naturally come back with their wallets open or their checkbook open. But they're busy. You know, no doesn't mean no. No means maybe not just yet, or maybe it's the follow-up that you need to do to get the sale across the line, because it ain't going to happen by itself, because we are all so busy. So if you take one thing away from the podcast today, I want you to take that away, that people are busy and you are going to have to do more follow-ups. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed it. I know I really enjoyed it. I will, of course, be back next Thursday for another awesome episode helping you simplify your business in 2020. If you're enjoying this podcast and you've listened this far, so hopefully you are enjoying it, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and maybe share this episode with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind, who would really appreciate you making their business a little bit simpler as well. If you've got time for a rating and a review, then I would super appreciate that. Thank you so much to Mulwala MC for their review. Mulwala MC said, I listened to episode 94, and even though I'm a service-based business, I really enjoyed it. My piece of gold from that episode was find the lesson to lessen the failure. I'd never thought of it like that, and so thank you so much, ladies. That's awesome. Thank you, Moela MC. I really love that you've left me that little review. I totally appreciate it. Great shout out to you. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I will see you back here for episode 97. Holy crap on a cracker. But in the meantime, let's hang out on social and get social on social. You will, of course, find me on Instagram, Facebook, and my favorite, LinkedIn. And, of course, hanging out in the Like-Minded Business Owners group on Facebook as well. If you haven't joined in there, then please come across and join as a member. But whatever you do, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
Say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.